What's up? Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to Behind the Layers podcast. I'm your host, Kara Christensen, professional health, fitness, and beauty guru. I appreciate you guys being here with this Think Thursday, where we're going to learn some new information about how our bodies work. So let's dive into some wonderful topics. I don't know if many of you might know about this with the circadian rhythm or not, but I definitely have learned a lot of new things since listening to the doctors that are going to join us today. So I really do hope that you find a great benefit. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel on YouTube. That's at Kara Chris TV, or you can go over to Instagram and Facebook, and that's Kara Christensen TV. But if you have anybody that is struggling with their weight management, diabetic, pre-diabetic, fighting cancer, on remission from cancer, or going through a struggle mentally, depression, fatigue, sleepless nights, insomnia, menopause, perimenopause, any of those things, please do share this. Sharing is caring. Give them the information they need that they can start today without a penny extra out of their pocket. For free, they can start battling the things that are going on with them and helping them in recovery into a better, healthier life. So please do share this stream. It's going to be chock full, packed with great information and great knowledge. So I cannot wait to get into this with you. Welcome. Hi, Sad. Hey, haven't seen you in a while. So today we are going to cover what is circadian rhythm, how it affects your weight loss journey, your health journey, your sleep, all of that, and also dive into some products that you must have at your home that you can help towards aiding your health and your recovery, and fat blasters, how to drop that fat fast. And when I say fast, you know I'm going to be talking about fasting. Okay, so let's dive into. Here we go. Starting out with these doctors, they're talking about the circadian rhythm and how the circadian rhythm affects our weight loss journey and our health in general. So a lot of you may not know what circadian rhythm is, and you're going to learn along with me as we watch these doctors talk about how it affects us, how we can get in tune, and what to do immediately starting today. And you don't need to have anything extra to make this happen. It is something you can do right now for free in your own home and start this process today to getting into a better, healthier life. So welcome to Think Thursday. Let's dive into the topics. Welcome, you guys.
Habits are in our culture of being very busy and, work hours that are really long and lots of social rewards for cognitive performance that can go on into the night. But when you look at what is natural for our bodies, there are a few things we cannot reprogram. And one of those is a circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm, even on a lower level, when I fast for 3 or 4 days and I do a strict salt and water only fast, you can still see my sugars go up right before I wake up in the morning, and my body will use them and I start producing ketones. That rise and fall of glucose is a product of your circadian rhythm. And it doesn't go away. It's there. You can't say, but I don't want my circadian rhythm to start this morning. I want to sleep in. Okay, you can sleep in, but your circadian rhythm is still probably going to not let you sleep really deeply or do the things that you would, it's going to follow the pattern of the sun. So when patients say, Doc, can I eat later and then eat late at night? I would say, I like you to look at your circadian rhythm, and most people, that's somewhere around 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. You can shift it by an hour or so, but it doesn't usually shift much more than that. And I need you to subtract from there. And in your case, I took 12 hours because you had been really stuck for several months. Yeah. To say, I want no food in your stomach for those 12 hours, which really means you kind of got to eat at least a half an hour to 45 minutes before that timer starts, because we need it out of the stomach and into the intestines. That's when we really start your fast. But what happens during that time is that your hormones do reset. your insulin will go down when you don't eat for 12 hours prior to the start of your circadian rhythm. The habits that we end up in our culture say, but doc, I'm not really hungry in the morning. And I would contend that if you at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I mean stop, salt and water only, and you did that, just do it for 2 days and watch what happens when you wake up in the morning, is that you do have hunger. So when people say, I just don't have any hunger first thing in the morning, that's a habit that has evolved. And it doesn't mean you have to eat. I mean, I think you have coffee first thing in the morning. I have coffee first thing in the morning, and then I try to eat that one meal around lunchish time if I'm doing that. And it really does satisfy me, and then I usually can make it to the next morning. But I really like my coffee first thing in the morning. When patients come in and say, can I just shift it? I said, if you do that, you're not going to lose much weight. You will still have so much insulin produced because of the timing that you're choosing to eat. And, you know, we have some awesome studies now that show a breast cancer reduction with time-restricted eating, that when you're on a high-fat, low-carbohydrate, ketogenic meal, that we are starting to see some of the other, like, really significant biomarkers that improve, that are correlating to a decrease in breast cancer, a decrease in, I want to say the other one was a colon cancer, if I remember right. Don't quote me on that one. The breast cancer, I know for sure. Anyway, the time-restricted eating has to do with the decrease in the insulin, and that is where they're getting these benefits from. So when somebody says, can I shift it? I'm like, first of all, I can prove it to you by having you check your glucose in the morning and your ketones in the morning. And I'll tell you, that ratio is not going to be pretty. You do have to stretch it to that 10 to 12 hours. And this is, you know, again, trying to guess how insulin.
So what she's saying, in a nutshell, is stretching it, meaning keeping it at least 13 hours of your fast. Like, you need to be fasting at least 13 hours. So from the moment that you ate dinner until the next time you eat, at least has to be 13 hours, which is pretty easy to do if you're just eating your dinner, and then, you know, you're not snacking before you go to bed. You go to bed, you sleep all that time, and then you wake up, and then by the time you have your first meal, at least 13 hours you want to be in between and having your fast state. So it's definitely something that's doable. That doesn't seem, when people say, oh, you need to be fasting for 13 hours, they're not thinking, hi Bo, they're not thinking about calculating that sleep time. They just think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be going all these hours without sleeping. But this is research from so many doctors for so many decades shows the fasting and bodies and fights and strengthens your good cells and takes the bad cells. So I like to fast in the 17-hour, 19-hour window, because those are going to be you're going to reap the most rewards in that space. The 17 to the 19 hours is huge. It's huge in benefit. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to skip along and I'm going to go into Dr. Berg. He put this video out that is absolutely fantastic with knowledge, but also some of the things that you need to keep in mind when you are doing these fasts, to make sure that you're getting the most benefit from it. And like she said, a saltwater fast. So instead of just saying a water fast, so salt has like a sea salt in it, sea salt or Himalayan salt. Cracking that into your water is going to give you the electrolytes you need and the nutrients you need to keep going, to fill your organs, to keep everything hydrated the way it should. Because when you go into these longer fasts and you're not used to drinking all the water, your organs in your body, you get dehydrated, and that's not good. Then you start releasing a stress chemical, and then that cortisol starts breaking down all of the things that you need to start to keep dropping the weight. But if it's fighting, now you're in a stress level because you don't have enough hydration. Now your body is in a different space, and you're not going to lose the weight. So some people have come to me saying, oh, I'm doing the fasting and I'm doing the intermittent fasting or the longer version fasting, which is like 17, 19, 24 hours, maybe into 36 hours, and I'm not losing the weight. And I say, well, how much water are you drinking? And it usually comes down to the water. Because if you are going that long of a fast, you're not drinking enough water, your body starts to go into that anxiety, stress state. It starts to release the cortisol. The cortisol is working against you and fighting against your body inside when it should be releasing all of the things. You have to be the one to gauge that with your water. And what she's saying, in a lot of the doctors who do their studies on the prolonged fasting, is putting salt, cracking sea salt or Himalayan salt into your water when you drink it. And that will give you all the electrolytes and the nutrients that you need to continue fasting so you can continue losing the weight. It really could just boil down to something as simple as hydration. Like, how much water did you drink? That type of thing. You need to drink the water. And when you're drinking the water, don't drink the Kool-Aid. You need to drink the water. And when you're drinking the water, you need to put the salt in it so it can help hydrate you. And you think it's going to taste bad, but it doesn't. It just tastes like, most of those hydration drinks, Gatorade and Powerade, stuff like, they have, if you look at the back, the sodium, they have a ton of salt in them. That's what gives you the hydration. But now you're having it without all the added chemicals and stuff. You're just putting the cracked salt in your water. You could put cracked salt, a little lemon, get a little astringent in there. Thank you, Bo. Thank you. Appreciate you for checking. I started late today because I'm troubleshooting. So I was troubleshooting on all fronts, and I was talking to the guy, and he was helping me. I tried to start the stream 4 times, and it kept crashing. So I appreciate you guys and your patience, and thank you, Bo, for checking in on that for me. So I'm going to dive into, I'm going to back this out. I'm going to back out of this and go into Dr. Berg's, the one that I was in for him. Let me go to my page. And let me go. All of the videos that I play here, you guys, are going to be right here on my page under playlists. And then you go over here into podcast info vids right here.
Today I want to show you a very unique way.
This is not it. But the one I want to show you of him that is super vital to this whole process is right here.
So out of anything you could possibly...
Just kidding. That is not it. It is right here.
I'm going to share several...
All right.
I'm going to share several critical things.
Okay. So this is the video that I want to show you guys. I know we talk extensively about the health benefits of prolonged fasting, but what we haven't talked extensively about, even though we've made a little mentions here, is the absolute 100% science-backed studies over decades and decades of how this fasting crushes cancer, crushes it. Your pre-cancer, your ability to roll into cancer, your fight for cancer, getting out of cancer, your remission, to not have it return. You have to incorporate this method. And I'm telling you, not from me, from the doctors that have done these studies and that have followed the studies over time. So here it is. Listen up. If you have anyone that is going through this, going through cancer, remission, or you just want to never have it in your life, pay attention to this. Make sure you do share this podcast. Sharing is caring. And if you care about anybody in your life that you don't want to have cancer, that's going through cancer, that has already been through cancer and in remission, you want to share this podcast. Here we go. Let's dive in.
Things about prolonged fasting that you need to know. Fasting is very simple. Okay, it shouldn't be that hard. Some people overthink it, and those things that are really simple are usually extremely powerful. And that's what fasting is. I mean, it's actually mind-blowing to think that the absence of food, just not eating, can create so many powerful effects. And if you haven't tried it, you should definitely try it. In order to understand the benefits of fasting, you want to compare it to another subject, and usually a subject that would be the opposite, okay? And that would be snacking, okay? If you look at what snacking does to the human body, it is absolutely, positively devastating. In fact, I think out of all the things that you can do that create a negative influence on your body, snacking is at the top of the list because of what it does to insulin. It's a chronic increase in elevation of insulin,
Look at that.
which
Look at
then leads
that.
to just a million other problems. I mean, when you think about it, I guess I'll just pull this up right here real quick. I don't think you can ever heal the body with eating frequent meals, okay? We have this idea that you have to heal the body with food, right? Like food is nourishing. Actually, it might be nourishing, but to really heal, you're better off not eating. This idea that breakfast is the most important meal is a total lie. And I used to promote it before I learned otherwise. What about promoting like bedtime snacks for kids, right? Or after school snacks, or this advice that you should never miss a meal, right? Which I have no idea who started that. Well, actually I do. It's the snack food industry that started that. And for some reason, this snacking food industry just doesn't like me for some reason. I don't know why it is. So if we look at snacking, snacking actually makes you more hungry because you're eating a small amount of calories and you're stimulating insulin, and that lowers your blood sugar about an hour and a half later. So you're going to stimulate hunger, not stimulate your metabolism, okay? You're going to stimulate hunger when you snack, and it's going to promote more hunger, okay? So, and you're never, ever going to fix hypoglycemia by eating these snacks because it keeps that hypoglycemic low blood sugar thing going on and on and on. In fact, it actually slows your metabolism, or shall I say, slows your ability to lose weight because you develop insulin resistance because you have this constant increase of insulin. And also it's going to promote a need for a nap, okay, right after you eat. You're going to feel like you need a nap. And you may find that eating does reduce moodiness and grouchiness, but soon after, about an hour later, when your blood sugars are dropped, you're going to revert back to this moodiness. Now, in history, a lot of great thinkers have commented on fasting and had something to say about fasting. Hippocrates said, "To eat when you are sick is to fuel your illness." Fascinating, right?
Okay, just to really hammer home, he's giving quotes from people that talked about fasting, some of the greatest historic figures in our history hundreds of years ago. He's quoting on this same topic. That's how tried and true this is. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's simply reminding us of what that wheel is, how to get on it, and remember and feel what we're supposed to feel like in our bodies and our skin as humans, how we're supposed to feel. Some people wildly, and I was probably one of them, have never experienced the amazing benefits that your body should be feeling. The clarity, the focus, the energy, the stability in your mood, all of the senses, all of your body, whole mind, spirit, body union coming together, all from a fasting experience. I mean, from birth, I'm fed and snacked and treats when sad and emotional eating and all of that from birth. So I never got the opportunity to really experience what this whole journey and what my body should actually feel like, what my mind should actually be functioning like. And it's so beautiful when you do give yourself the space to dive into it, and the amount of benefits that your body receives from giving it the space that it needs is astronomical. You can't even, there's no drug, there's no pill, there's nothing out there on the market that can give you what your body can give itself if you allow it the space to do that. And how powerful is that, right? That's so beautiful. So he's quoting people from centuries ago, some of the greatest people that we know about today, and he's quoting what they've said about this same topic. And here it is, this far along, when we've like eaten ourselves literally to death, to illness, to sickness, in the highest that we've ever had in our lifetime. And here we are trying to explain, and people, these doctors trying to, that actually are going against the corporate medical world and saying, stop, don't take those meds. Listen, this is how you got to, this is how you can treat yourself. This is how you can prevent getting cancer. This is how you can, that you can fight in your cancerous state right now. This is how you can fight and empower those good cells in your body. This is how in remission you can eliminate your chances of getting cancer again. Please listen up. This is how to do it. They're like shouting from the mountaintops. So if you really truly want to start living your best life from the inside out, even healthy people, they call them skinny fat, because their body inside is still acting like it's in an obese body because they're not doing it in the right way. They're not getting skinny in the right ways. They're getting treatments, or you're taking a shot, or you're taking the pill, or you're not doing it the way your body wants to do it. So inside, you're still this old, aging, obese person, because that's how your organs are feeling. So this is the way that you can actually experience what your body is supposed to function like. And it is absolutely incredible. Anyone that's tried it, I've never had a client, a family member, a friend, or anyone that's tried to do the fasting ever say anything bad other than, whoa, I cannot believe it. Like, I cannot believe the clarity, the happiness, the euphoria, the energy, the focus. I mean, the best sleep, the best, lots of things, if you know what I'm saying, because your body is running in its optimal performance, because you're not putting all that food in at all times. So it's pretty powerful. And what do you have to lose other than all the bad stuff, right? So giving it a go is a no-brainer, in my humble opinion. Here we go.
And then we have the ancient Greek philosophers, right? The great thinkers.
This was Socrates. He was
fasting and had something to say about fasting. Hippocrates said, to eat when you are sick is to fuel your illness. Fascinating, right? And then we have the ancient Greek philosophers, right? The great thinkers. Pythagoras. Pythagoras required fasting of his students, okay, so they can think more clearly. Plato, Aristotle were advocates of fasting. Ben Franklin said the best of all medicine is rest and fasting. Mark Twain said, a little starvation can really do more for the average sick person than the best medicine and the best doctors. And another very interesting point about your fat, okay, your adipose tissue. Where did it come from? Why did we develop this fat tissue that you hate so much? Well, we developed it from scarcity of food, okay, food scarcity. And what this fat really is, it's an efficient way of surviving. It's a way to make your energy very efficient. And when some people express that they have a damaged or slow or ruined metabolism, what they really have is an efficient metabolism, because now the body can go with just a little bit of food for long periods of time, and that fat is retained. So fat is all about prolonging fuel. It's all about helping you survive when there's no food. So therein lies the secret to losing fat, okay? Can you do it by adding more food, by eating something? No. You want to mimic why we developed it in the first place. We want to mimic starvation, but not really starvation. I want to actually kind of
that's a trigger word.
Clarify what I mean by mimic, okay? The difference between fasting and starvation really has to do with one thing, control. Who's in control? When you're fasting, you're in control. When you're starving, you're usually being controlled by the environment because there's no food. So if we were going to mimic starvation, we're really being in control because we could eat if we want, right? And so the secret to getting rid of your fat really is just to do prolonged fasting, okay? The power of prolonged fasting is just remarkable for your health. So let's go through the 7 critical things that you need to know, okay? The first thing I want to mention is that when you do fasting, you really only want to drink water. You can have tea, you can have some coffee, but you definitely want to take supplements. And the reason.
Okay, so he's about to roll into the supplement list. And, you know, some supplements I feel like, you know, make me a little nauseous. I have to eat them with food. But the ones that he's saying specifically, do not. They don't usually have that effect, and they don't need food. Some vitamins and supplements need food to be able to be dissolved and distributed properly, but these that he's mentioning, so if you got a pen and paper handy or your phone on your notes, these are the ones that you should write down, because this is going to get you in your optimal performance for fasting, so your body feels 100% safe to just start losing that weight and using that fat that you already have stored, eating it up and using it as your fuel. If you don't, and you're going these prolonged fasts and you see that you're gaining weight or you're not losing weight at all, you probably have very stubborn insulin, meaning for quite some time, and it might take a little bit, maybe like a week or 2 weeks before you start seeing the needle move on the scale. But if you haven't been obese or overweight for a long time and you're not seeing the scale move, it could just be simply because of your water intake. But these are the things that you can take as your supplements to, if you're starting your journey into the prolonged fasting stage, which is like, 19 hour, 24 hour, 36 hour, 72 hour type fast.
Reason is because nowadays people are so deficient in nutrients. So even though when you go through fasting, your body adapts and becomes very efficient at holding nutrients, and the requirement of nutrients is a lot less, you could still have certain deficiencies of both trace minerals, especially, and other things like electrolytes and even the B vitamins. So I recommend taking your supplements. And the two main categories of supplements I would recommend are the electrolytes and the B vitamins. But of course, if you can also do some other ones like vitamin D, vitamin C, that would be important. What you don't want to do is you don't want to do like branch chain amino acids. You don't want to have little snacks. No, you don't want to do that. And there are some programs that promote that, but I don't recommend that, because what you're going to do is you're going to inhibit this very powerful thing that gives you huge benefits, okay? Called autophagy. What is that? That is a condition. It's not a thing. It's a condition in your body that basically recycles old damaged proteins, okay? So fasting is the most potent trigger to autophagy. And so autophagy is kind of like self-cleaning. It's cleaning up the old dead proteins. It's cleaning up pathogens in the body. It's stimulating all sorts of genes for long-term survival and longevity. It helps to clean up damaged mitochondria, which is directly behind the root cause of cancer. So this is why prolonged fasting is the best solution to cancer. And if you have...
So that's what I was trying to talk about, the mitochondria. That is the space in the gut, these little microbes in the gut. So when you're constantly feeding and feeding, thank you so much, you guys. I'm not blurry today, right? Thank you. When you're constantly feeding those microbes and you're not giving them any space to digest and, rid themselves of all of the things you're sending down, then they stay in a stressed out state. So that's why they say to cure cancer is to not get, your chances of not getting cancer is in the high 80s to 90s if you have prolonged fasting in your life. Like, so many studies geared around so many different types of cancer. It's insane, all of the studies that are out there from decades and decades of different types of cancer and them doing the prolonged fasting, which is, 15, 17, 19 hours each day before you're starting into your eating window. You can even go as long as 24 hours, 36 hours, but it is absolutely incredible when you look at the studies, which these are going to be put into my playlist, and you can go into the playlist on my page, my YouTube page, and look at all of these videos, and they have links into all of their studies. They always put the research and the studies up, and I'll snatch those links up and put it in to my comments too. But you have to, if there's anybody that you know, or even yourself, you don't have to have cancer. If you want to heighten your chances of not getting cancer. Even when my daughter had cancer, she was not eating, and we were just like thinking in the mind space of you have to eat, you have to eat. But now learning the information that we know about the prolonged fasting, she knew what was good for her body when she was fighting it off, which was not eating, and that felt better than when she was eating. And she passed every single test. Every day that we went into the hospital, she was getting stronger, even though she wasn't eating. Every week that passed, she was flying colors, and when she was only eating one meal a day, maybe. And that was like protein pancakes, which is pretty much it. Like it was so incredible to see, even though in our mindset, we thought, oh, she needs to eat to be strong, because that's what we're taught, right? We need to eat. You need to eat to be strong. You need to eat to do this. You need to eat when you're feeling sad. You need to eat for everything's eat, eat, eat. And that's keeping us sick. And when our daughter had cancer, she went into fasting in her own state, in her own space. She wasn't eating, and she was getting better. She wasn't eating, and she was killing it with her when they were taking her blood work. She wasn't eating, and she was crushing cancer that was in her body and healing at rapid rates from not eating. And we didn't know it at the time, but now learning about all the research and all of the studies on our own, it was the fasting. It was the intermittent fasting, and it was the autophagy her body was going into. It was her cells getting locked down like Fort Knox, the good cells, and then her body swooping up all those bad cancerous cells and feeding it to the good cells, and the good cells getting more empowered and stronger, and the bad cancerous cells dying off at rapid rates. So she was flying with flying colors, passing all her tests from the fasting. The thing that we thought was damaging her was actually empowering her. And she knew that at her little 4-year-old stage, her little 4-year-old body, just fighting it off from not putting more of the toxic foods in her body. It was impressive to learn about it, and then to look back and see how we were thinking about it, but learning the facts about cancer and the cancer cells and autophagy, which is what your body goes through after not eating for 17, 19 hours. So it's really something to actually pay attention to. It's not just me here talking about whatever. It's me trying to tell you, look, you don't have to go through that suffering thing. And if you are in that suffering thing, here's how to get out of it at a more rapid rate. She beat that in 6-month time, and it never returned. I mean, incredible. Unbelievable.
I've not seen my videos on 2 amazing success stories with cancer, like stage 4 cancer. I'm going to put those down below, but it's very.
I'm going to post those up too. These are people that are diagnosed, like our daughter, stage 4 cancer, stage 3 cancer, diagnosed, right? They went into this whole fasting journey and then went back in for their checkup. 0 cancer. Hearing 0 cancer after diving into the prolonged fasting, diagnosed with cancer, stage 4, stage 3, going in, and they don't have cancer anymore. Like, if that's not a powerful, true testament, God didn't build our bodies to be eating all the time. It's feast and famine. That's what our bodies are built for. We're giving ourselves cancer from the foods that we're eating and constantly eating them. So of course it makes sense to reverse the cycle, is to let our bodies heal. And the way to heal themselves is to stop putting all the toxins and the stuff into our body and letting it truly heal and nourish itself. It's so powerful, you guys. It's so powerful. Let me back it up a little bit. We've watched it with our own eyes with our daughter. It is absolutely powerful.
To cancer. And if you have not seen my videos on 2 amazing success stories with cancer, like stage 4 cancer, I'm going to put those down below, but it's very powerful. So autophagy is a condition where you're recycling like damaged protein. I'm talking like amyloid plaquing that's involved in Alzheimer's. I'm talking about the damaged protein involved in chronic disease, like in your eyes, like from diabetes, from chronic inflammation. And by the way, when you start doing prolonged fasting, you can just erase any inflammation in the body. And it's amazing for autoimmune type conditions as well. So we're recycling damaged proteins, not just your muscles, but proteins involved in the enzymes, all the different metabolic pathways, the things that are damaged. It cleans all that up. So just make sure you do your water, a couple other things like tea and coffee and your supplements, but nothing else. Okay. The other thing I want to bring up is the amount of water. I would recommend at least 2.5 liters of water. Now, there are dry fasts, and that's a whole different thing. But for most of you watching, I don't recommend you do that. Do a water fast. So you're basically drinking a good amount of water. What's interesting about doing a fast, your body will make its own water out of fat, but that's for another video. I just recommend you drink enough water. And the reason I recommend you drink water is when you start fasting, boy, you just dump your glycogen, okay, your stored sugar, and you're burning up the sugar first. And then with that is the release of a lot of fluids, because you have a tremendous amount of water that's tied in with this stored blood sugar in your muscles and in your liver. So you're going to get rid of a good amount of fluid initially. And with that becomes a loss of electrolytes. So you want to put back in those electrolytes. Probably the biggest risk of doing these fast, okay, is when you're doing them without electrolytes, because you can create a lot of problems with your heart. You can faint. You can even have heart attacks. Why? Because you're.
And what he means by electrolytes is salt, any kind of essential sodium like that. The sea salt, if you do have heart issues, Bo, I know you mentioned that, sea salt and Himalayan salt are not catering to that. It's the ionized salt that it's, the old school salt. Himalayan salt, sea salt, those are essential vitamins and nutrients that your body is comfortable with. So it doesn't act the same as some of those fake or processed salts, tampered with salts.
You're basically depriving your body of key electrolytes. And realize that sodium chloride is also part of electrolytes, okay? So you need salt and other electrolytes. If you feel weakness in your muscles, that is an indication that you need more salt, okay? And of course, I'm talking about sea salt. And with electrolytes, I'm also talking about potassium, magnesium, calcium, things like that. Now, let's go into number 3, refeeding. This is when you start to eat again. Now, I'm not talking about intermittent fasting right now. I'm talking about prolonged fasting. When you're fasting 48, 72 hours, you're fasting 5 days.
Okay, so this is super important because it talks about how to come out of that fast, how we talked about doing the 36-hour fast for optimal benefit, physical health benefits, and mental health benefits. The 36-hour fast is absolutely incredible for cancer, pre-cancer. You're going through chemo right now. You're on the other side of chemo in remission. You're trying to get healthier, stronger, build up your immune system. It is a full body immune system reboot. That's the 36-hour one. The 36 hours is so wonderful for you. But when you come out of it, this is how you do it. Because a lot of people come out of it and then they're completely annihilate everything that you just did because they eat improperly. So this is how to do it properly when you're coming out of that 36-hour fast that we all started to do our journey to that this week. So if you didn't catch it this week, we're going to start back into it on next week leading up to Christmas. But it is 100% well worth your time and your dedication into yourself for this process, especially if you have cancer in your family, you've gone through cancer, you're going through cancer now. This is where it's at. But these are the steps you should take on the other side of that fast. Very important information.
You're fasting, 14 days, 21 days, 30 days, whatever. And you can do a 5-day or even a 21-day fast several times through the year and just keep your health at a whole new level. Some of the problems with fasting that I want to bring up is, like, you don't want to do fasting when you're pregnant, when you're lactating. You don't want to do fasting if you have anorexia. However, if you have stage 4 cancer or cancer in general, personally, I would do prolonged fasting immediately. So if you're doing a prolonged fast, all right, what do you eat coming off the fast? Well, you want to do something healthy, of course, but you don't want to do a big meal, okay? And you especially do not want to do something with refined carbs and sugar. And the reason is because you're going to create a huge shift of potassium, okay, out of the cell. And 98% of all your potassium should be inside that cell. And so in order to store sugar, you need potassium. So you're going to just suck out this potassium too fast. And you're going to end up with a severe imbalance of potassium in the blood, inside the cell. There's going to be this huge imbalance, and that can create some dangers. So do not do, just regular foods or refined carbs when you come off this prolonged fast. Instead, do a little bit of salad, maybe a little egg, just a little bit of something, and then wait for a couple hours, and then you can maybe have a little bit of nuts, and wait for a little bit, do a little avocado, and gradually kind of come out of this, okay?
So what he's saying, when you're coming out of that big fast, the big beneficial fast, the big B, that's what I call it, the big beneficial fast, when you're coming out of it, doing more of a grazing pattern of good foods rather than submerging your system with a whole bunch of the things that you just restricted it from. So coming out of that 36-hour fast and having all of those incredible benefits that now your body is thriving, your microbiome, your whole gut system, your whole system in general inside has pretty much been reset, rebooted. Your immune system inside is at optimal peak performance. Your mental clarity, your focus, your energy, your euphoria, all of those cancer cells that you had just eating up inside if you're going through cancer or you had pre-cancer. I'm telling you, these stories that he has posted, you have to watch them. Go to my YouTube page at Kara Chris TV. In my playlists, it says podcast vids. Podcast info vids is in my playlist at the very top. Go to this video. It's close to the bottom. I'm going to try and snatch those links up. You have to watch these stories. These people with diagnosed stage 4, stage 3 cancer, diagnosed before they start their treatment, because sometimes, like when our daughter was diagnosed, before we started the treatment, there was actually some leeway because they have to be able to get you in and get you, even though you're diagnosed stage 4, there's still, depending on where you're level, there's still some time. So these patients that they took, because they've been doing these for decades, these studies on all different types of cancer patients. And they're saying, let me do these, let me give this a go. Let me try these cancer that are on the brink, stage 4. They'll do anything. Let me try this. And it's intermittent fasting. It's prolonged fasting, the 24, 36, 72 hours, and then testing again for the cancer and it not being there at all. Like it really is like, whoa, it's a wake up for sure. But you have to designate your energy into saying, I don't need to put that in my body. It is a mind control thing. You are against you. It's no one else is more against you than yourself. And saying, I'm not strong enough. I need to have this. I need to have this food. That's what we're programmed to think from the jump, from out the gate. I know my grandmas, all the grandparents, aunts, uncles, even like friends, parents, if you're hurt, if you're not feeling well, let me fix you something. Let me make you something to eat. Everything is based around your food intake, food, emotional eating. Just you need to eat. And then the industry is telling you have to wake up and have breakfast. You have to have some snacks. Oh, you need a snack before you have dinner to keep your body going. No. And now that you can fight off cancer, or even when you have cancer, even before you even gotten cancer, to assure that you don't get cancer, is literally in the prolonged fasting. It is mind blowing when you get to the root of it. And it really is just so basic. It's so basic that you almost are like, wow, really? Like our bodies are meant to do the feast and famine, which is, we didn't readily have food all the time. We were meant to hunt and gather and then rest. Like it wasn't, our bodies weren't meant for the society that we have. We literally are eating ourselves to death, to illness. It's wild when you just reel it all back in, the benefits that you receive from it, just everything that I've said it a million times, all the benefits, all the things.
You do not want to do a big meal like I did. And that was a really good demonstration of what not to do, because I just pigged out. I ate all this food, ate this huge meal, and oh my goodness, did I end up with a serious digestive problem, tired. And I'm like, okay, I will never do that again. In fact, I need to have other people learn from my mistakes. All right, if you're doing a prolonged fast, and I'm saying probably 72 hours or longer, realize that all these ketones are going to make you pretty acid. It's not a bad thing. It's just that if you're doing apple cider vinegar and you're adding that, you're going to add some more acidity, and that can throw off your pH. And you may find that your pulse rate, it's like a very loud pounding pulse rate in your ear. That's going to make it difficult to sleep because your pH is off, and your breathing might be affected too, like air hunger, like can't get enough air. So just don't do the apple cider vinegar if you're doing a fast longer than 72 hours. You may want to do some baking soda, just a little bit, like an eighth of a teaspoon in some water, and drink that, especially if you start having a buildup of like a gout symptom from the uric acid that goes up. Uric acid is one of the most powerful antioxidants in your blood, and it's a normal thing, but some people that are predisposed to gout might have a flare-up, especially when they are doing this initially. Okay, but normally it's not a situation. And number 5, do the healthy version of the keto. Some people that are predisposed to gout might have a flare-up, especially when they are doing just a little bit, like a
hold on, let me see.
Can't get enough air. So don't do the apple cider vinegar if you're doing a fast longer than 72 hours. You may want to do some baking soda.
Baking soda. Yeah, that's it. So what he's talking about, so you guys know I'm a big advocate of that apple cider vinegar to balance out your pH levels in your body. So what he's saying is, if you're going on that long fast, you have nothing in your stomach, the last thing you want to throw in is something acidic. So doing the baking soda, which is like a little tiny, like itsy bitsy little, like tiny little bit in your water. You can't really taste it. Put it in your water and drink that. That will do the same thing as the apple cider vinegar. And it actually is really comforting to your body, especially if your body, when you're going through these prolonged fasts and your body is trying to detox itself and get all the crap out, you might have a surge of the things that flare up your gout and, what he's talking about, the toxins that are trying to leave your body. Drinking enough water helps it leave your body. If you don't drink the water, there's no way out. You have to sweat it out or pee it out. That's it. And those are the 2 avenues. You can sweat it out of your pores, or from what I'm going to talk about later, which is a product that a must-have product you should have at home. But if you don't sweat it out of your pores, then you should definitely be drinking enough water to pee it out. Otherwise, if you have that gout flare up, this is what you do. You put that little eighth of a teaspoon, which is so tiny, in your water, mix it up. It could be 8 ounces, 12 ounces, however much water you want to put it in. Shot glass if you want to. Take it down and let that work for you, that pH, to balance you back out and help with that inflammation. That's what apple cider vinegar does on a stomach that's got food in it. You drink that apple cider vinegar, or maybe you're gone like 17 19-hour fast, you're not doing a big 36-hour fast. But 17, 19 hours, you're totally fine before you eat your next meal to have the apple cider vinegar, which is really good for you and cleansing and detoxifying and all that. But the apple cider vinegar, if you can't have that and you're having the baking soda, 1/8 of a teaspoon baking soda, that will help all the inflammation, not just for gout flare up, but the inflammation, you got arthritis or your fingers are getting swollen. You should pay attention to those signs. That means you have too much sodium in your body. You need to flush it out. You need to flush it out. And the only way out is sweat and pee. So you can either sweat it out in the gym or sweat it out in the product I'm going to be talking about in a little bit, or you can pee it out. And that means you need to be drinking sufficient amount of water. 1 gallon a day is what we should be having. But if you can't get to that, he's saying 2 liters, 2.5 liters is enough when you're doing these long, prolonged fasting. So that is very important to know, is that little thing that you keep in the refrigerator is also good for you to drink.
Just a little bit, like an 1/8 of a teaspoon in some water, and drink that, especially if you start having a buildup of like a gout symptom from the uric acid that goes up. Uric acid is one of the most powerful antioxidants in your blood, and it's a normal thing, but some people that are predisposed to gout might have a flare-up, especially when they are doing this initially. Okay, but normally it's not a situation. And number 5, do the healthy version of the ketogenic diet. Don't just go back to regular foods, because first of all, the carbs are going to kind of nullify some of the benefits that you had. Okay, because this whole goal of doing fasting is to get rid of the bad effects of a high carb diet and a junk food diet. So why would you want to go back to that? So I would highly recommend combining healthy keto with the intermittent fasting. Okay, number 6, dawn phenomenon. What is that?
So it's a thing, actually, when you are doing your fast. I've been faulty for it. I know people that are done the fast and they're like, oh, now I'm going to indulge in a burger and fries that I'm done with the fast. You feel like absolute dog poop when you are done eating that food, because your body is so pure and clean. It's like a baby's body inside, like your full reset. So when you go 36 hours and you have a full immuno gastro body inside reset, metabolic reset, and then you put fried and high cholesterol food in your body, like a big burger, cheesy burger with all the dairy and the fried oil and all that stuff, and the high carbs and sugars, and you throw all that onto that baby system. Holy cow. Talk about lights out. Like literally your body shuts down and it's trying to figure out what the heck just happened. It's like dropping a nuclear bomb in there and it detonating. Your belly gets swollen, your brain gets foggy, you can't even think straight, you feel terrible, your mood is gone to crap. It is not good. So when you reach that stage, you've gone through that, if you're one of those people that don't heed the warning and you have to learn your own way, you see pretty quickly why the doctors say do not do that, because it's terrible. It feels terrible. It's going to make you feel terrible. And then you just completely annihilated all of that you just went through for 36 hours without food. And all of the benefits you just gave your body, you literally just took them right back away in a matter of minutes. So it's not worth it.
That has to do with your blood sugars going up, okay? Maybe between 5 in the morning to 8, like all of a sudden your blood sugars go up, like you didn't eat any sugar. Where is that sugar coming from? Well, your liver is making sugar, okay? There's a problem with insulin resistance, which is still occurring because it takes quite a while to get rid of that condition. It could take months, even up to a year or a little bit longer to fully get rid of that. If you have the dawn phenomenon, all that means is that you have insulin resistance, okay? And I wouldn't worry about it too much. However, if it concerns you, I would go for a long walk and just burn off that sugar. It's not coming from your diet, okay? It's just your liver is making the sugar. And that's a big difference between consuming sugar, all right? You're not going to have a problem. And also, that problem is going to go away with time Versus some people might think, oh, fasting is bad because it raised my sugar, so I'm going to stop doing that. That would be a mistake. And so a couple of little things that you can do, you can probably take berberine or other things like cinnamon to help reduce insulin resistance, okay? All right, number 7, knowing when to break your fast. Now, should you just dive right into a prolonged fast? Well, you know what? You could. You could. Are you going to feel great? Maybe not, especially if you haven't fasted. You're going to have to go through a period of time where your body adapts. And so it might take you several days before you start feeling good. So a lot of people do this gradually and they kind of ease into it after doing, weeks of intermittent fasting. So you could just cold turkey, just jump right in and do prolonged fasting, okay? However, when you start fasting, what you're really doing is you're switching from the glucose fuel to the fat fuel, okay? And then also the body then has to make new enzymes for ketones, okay? So your body actually is running on fatty acids as well as ketones, especially for your brain. Your brain can't run on fatty acids. It runs on ketones. So just think about this. You're not going to feel really good.
So what he just said was so important. Your brain doesn't run on fatty acids that it gets from food. It runs on ketones, which your body produces when it's in the state of autophagy and fasting. So your body doesn't even produce those ketones until you get into a fasted state after like 15 hours, 17 hours. So your brain isn't even functioning at its optimal performance. That's why you see a lot of, I think maybe if you watch my podcast the other day, Dr. Mindy was on, and she was actually being interviewed by another person who has, dropped 150 pounds, and it was all started from intermittent fasting. And they both, at the beginning of their interview, were talking about, they were both in the 19 hours. They both knew that they were coming on for a 3-hour interview. So they stayed in their they wanted to make sure they were in the 19-hour fasting window, because at night, at the 19th hour, and try it yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. Even watching doctors, you don't have to take their word for it. Try it for yourself. My sister did this the other day, and she called me immediately, and she didn't even realize that it was her 19th hour in her fast. She didn't know anything about that part, but she called me and she was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to explain it, but my body is like I'm feeling like so alive and I'm feeling so alert, and I have this like euphoria feeling about me. And she had been in her fasting. I said, well, how long? And we finally figured out that she was in her 19th hour. It is incredible how you feel, the way your brain works, the way your body feels. Most of us have probably never felt that, like, ever, on a natural state. No drugs, no alcohol, no anything ingested, just your body working at its optimal performance. And she was just like, I'm so like you. She's a creative, she's a musician, and she is just like, I'm firing on all cylinders right now. And that's at the 19th hour. And what he's saying is your body doesn't feed, your brain doesn't process and work at its optimal level from fatty fats that you get from food. It's in your ketone state. And you cannot get to that ketone state until you are fasted at least 15 hours. Then your body starts working 13 hours to 15 hours, depending on your particular body. But that's when it goes into that ketone state. And that's when your brain starts operating in a space and your body is feeling these things that it doesn't normally feel on a normal basis. And it is impressive. It is like powerful. I know he just kind of breezed over that, but I just want to make sure you understood like what he's talking about when he said those words about how your brain best operates.
Acids as well as ketones, especially for your brain. Your brain can't run on fatty acids. It runs on ketones. So just think about this. You're not going to feel really good in your head when you start doing fasting, simply because it takes a while to develop ketones. So in the meantime, what you could do is take MCT oil, or you can take ketone supplements and get rid of those symptoms. However,
MCT oil is pretty much just like coconut oil. So you can take that. If you take a tablespoon of coconut oil, if you don't want to put it in your coffee, if you're not a coffee drinker or a tea drinker in the morning, if you don't put it in that, you can just take the tablespoon of coconut oil, and the benefits that helps inside. It takes you into that ketone state a lot faster. It also curbs your hunger, your appetite some people might have when they first wake up, to keep them in a fasted state for longer. So you remember, you want to